All right, we should be live. So just let me double check to make sure we're live before we start the show. But what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Knicks ROC Pod. Yep, we're live. We're live right now. Welcome to Knicks ROC Pod. It's myself, Jonathan Carney, and Jordan Bailey here for another episode. This is episode 14. We have a jam-packed show for you. Today we'll be talking about the rotation that the Knicks are going to face for this 2024-2025 season. We're also going to talk about some of the training camp signings that they've had, and we're going to give our predictions for the season. And this is our first live show, so if you have a comment and you're watching it, give us a comment and we'll address that comment. But I'm excited for the show to start. I'll let Jordan holler at you, and we'll get started with the show momentarily.
What's going on, guys? Back again with another one. Definitely looking forward to another great show. We definitely had some news and some things, that we can talk about now in this show. And, just looking forward to obviously the season starting. We getting to that point, getting closer and closer. But it's like kind of like the dog days, obviously, where it's like we try to figure out obviously what we want to get into. Well, we know what we want to get into, but we just literally want the season to start, and we just are ready. So yeah, let's get it. Let's get it going.
All right, yeah. So we're going to talk about the rotation. So the big thing with the Knicks is that they're really just deciding on how this rotation is going to be. They had a requirement of Mikal Bridges, and they also lost Isaiah Hartenstein. We touched on that in our previous show. And so basically what we want to talk about is how this Knicks team is going to manage with that rotation. Give in mind that we have a center with Mitchell Robinson, who really honestly always seems to be injured every season. And so the fact that we don't really have a solid center to come solid backup center or an overall solid center that can play the entire season. As a Knicks fan and looking at this team, we definitely think that this team is going to be playing a lot of small ball, and there's going to be a lot of rotational players that are going to play in positions that they normally don't play in. And certain players like Josh Hart and Julius Randle, they're probably going to find themselves playing at a position that they're normally not going to play as. We already know with Josh Hart that he's capable of playing at multiple positions. During the Knicks playoff outing last year, he was able to play multiple positions, and he was able to succeed at a high level. And with Julius Randle, even though he wasn't in the playoffs, Julius Randle now is more likely to take the role of being the number 5 guy in some instances when the season rolls around, because you don't really have that second big center. So Julius Randle might find himself playing at least 10 to 15 minutes as the 5, and I think that might be a reasonable like option for the Knicks, because Julius Randle is able to create a lot of offense. He's a really good 3-point shooter, and he can also hold his own defensively. But ideally, I think the Knicks are going to find themselves being able to play multiple different ways with all the players that they have, switch it up, play small ball, big ball, and hopefully they can successfully manage throughout the year, because Tibbs is a efficient coach, and he knows exactly what he's doing, and he trusts these players to play these different positions. And so I'm excited to see what they do, and I'm also excited to see certain players play outside of their lines. So I'll let Jordan give his 2 cents here with the position topic.
Definitely. Just like you said, I feel like it's very imperative this season, especially of all seasons. Especially with our lack of center depth. We're only going to have Mitch, mainly depending on Mitch, and Precious, at the center position. And I think that's going to be difficult for Thibs to continue to have to work with all season. I think he'll be able, like we were talking about last show, he'll be able to at least begin the season with that. But he's going to have to get more inventive. I know that's a gripe that a lot of fans and also like a lot of people on the outside looking in, I've had with him, over the years is like his rigidness, his lack of, at times his lack of open mindedness to experimenting with other lineups and things like that. So I think by him being able to, experience, work with another lineup like this, by allowing Julius 10 to 15 minutes, I think that would just give him that much more of an opportunity, to show, obviously that he's going to have to be, he's a lot more open minded this year. And I think it'll be helpful for Julius to be in a different position. I think he'll be able to take advantage of most fives. Defensively, obviously, we'll have, the jury, obviously the jury's still out on that one. We'll have to figure that out. But I definitely think offensively, he can definitely make some noise, at least in 10, in a stint of 10 to 15 minutes, considering now in the NBA, a lot of teams do run big, but a lot of teams also run very small as well. With Bam Adebayo playing center, you got a multitude of teams that run smaller players at the center position. So I definitely think it's worth taking a look at. Definitely, I think we have, and like we were just saying, now he kind of has no choice but to, because we already know for the most part, Mitch will miss some sort of time. You know what I'm saying? Some sort of, we don't know how much. Knock on wood. Hopefully, he doesn't miss too many games. Obviously, we don't want a repeat of last year, but it's just inevitable with him. So we'll need somebody to fill in, and I think that person definitely would be Julius. It'd be great if it was. So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I also think that ideally the Knicks are going to be looking for a backup center during the season. They either by maybe signing before the season starts, but I think that's highly unlikely. Or during the season, they might do a trade to acquire that backup center. But I'm also really just interested to see what they can do with that center position. But ultimately, with these rotations, I think Tibbs understands what these players can handle in regards to their mixing and matching their position. I mean, you really have OG Anunoby, who can honestly guard anyone, but he can really play the 2, 3, or 4. So you really have a lot of talent on this team. So I'm not really worried about certain players not being able to, cover certain players on the opposing end. But it's just going to be interesting to see, who's where everybody is and how they're going to manage. But I do think that ultimately what the Knicks really need is to try to replace Isaiah Hartenstein. It's going to be really hard to replace him after those 2 really successful years that he had. But I'm just excited to see what they're going to go to next. But do you have anything else to add on the rotation there, Jordan?
Definitely. I wanted to add, I think that was a great point that you brought up, because I didn't, obviously, like you said, this year is a lot better of a year in terms of if somebody does, if Mitch does in fact go out, we might be in a position where Julius might have to remain the center. He might have to start at center. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially maybe, obviously hypothetically at the beginning of the season, we might have to put him at the 5. Then we could have OG, like you said, OG at the 4. He was pivotal for us in a few in the playoffs against Embiid, and also just like I said, playing the 4 and getting rebounds. So he definitely showed that, like you said, he can definitely play the 2, 3, 4 and switch all over the floor. And then you got a player like Mikal Bridges. He'll be the starting 2, obviously going into the year, but we can definitely slide him to the 3. And then all you gotta do is slide in, either DiVincenzo or Hart at the 2, with probably most likely DiVincenzo, because he's a shooter. So slide him in at the 2, and then you got Brunson at the 1, and that's still a great lineup that you're running out, at least while Mitch is rehabbing and trying to get his way back. So I think that even though we lost Hartenstein, I still think we still have by getting Mikal. I think that was a great. It was a win for sure, and it obviously, I think it's it kind of X one player out to put in another quality player to who's just as pretty much honestly more versatile than Hartenstein because like I said, Hartenstein is mainly a center, and Mikal he can slide across like he can arguably play at least definitely play 2-3. So it's good. It's good that you have him to be able to slide and be interchangeable in that aspect in the event that we have to go that route. So yeah, that was a good point. So yeah, I just want to piggyback off that. But yeah.
Yeah, so now we'll just move into our training camp signings that the Knicks just had and during last week and this week. So the biggest one, we'll start off with the biggest one. He's a fan favorite from the 2019 season. Will be Marcus Morris. So the Knicks signed Marcus Morris to, I believe, a 1-year deal. Let me just double check here. They signed Marcus Morris to a training camp deal. It doesn't really say the years. I think it's a 1-year deal. I'll look at the exact numbers when Jordan gives his 2 cents, but ultimately, I'm okay with this. I think Marcus Morris, when he was on the Knicks, was a good addition. He had a lot of moments to where he shined, and he was a great shooter when he was on that 2019 team. I think this is a guy, if he lands on if he gets a roster spot, he can definitely help the Knicks in multiple aspects. I know his career isn't as efficient as it was in previous years, but I think he can help this Knicks team not only in the locker room, but he can also help in regards to shooting the ball and just making buckets and lightly help on the defensive end. I mean, if he does get a roster spot, he's probably not going to see more than maybe 10 minutes on the court. But I think that this is a good veteran that the Knicks signed. Obviously, Tibbs seems to like him because he coached him in the 2019 season, and they brought him back. So again, who knows if he makes the cut during this training camp? But I really, really, really like the sign for Marcus Morris because I do think that he can elevate the locker room and he can also hit shots throughout the games. And I mean, if you got somebody that can get buckets, that's exactly who you want. And I think he fits well. Julius Randle, who is looking to come back very strong. He already played with him in the 2019 season, so he's already familiar with him. I think he can really work well with Randle and help him get out of some of his slumps that he may have during the season. So I think that he's a really good locker room presence. So I'm very excited about that Marcus Morris signing. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be able to land an actual spot, but I think this guy is definitely a lot better than most of the actual official roster spots that the Knicks had previously. So I'm rooting for him throughout the season. And our second guy that we agreed to a 1-year deal will be Vet Sherman. So he played with the Wizards last year. He averaged 8.7 points per game, and he shot 38% on 3. So I'm not too familiar with this guy. He seems like he may be able to fit in the scheme, but really looking at the tweet from Woj, it doesn't seem like he might not make the actual roster for the Knicks. I mean, if this guy can get some buckets, then that's great. But ideally, I'm not really so sure about this guy. I'm more rooting for Marcus Morris to get on that roster spot. But I really think that the Knicks are trying to get this not only a great team on the court, but a great team off the court. And I think Marcus Morris is a great addition. So I'll let Jordan give him his take on that.
Likewise, I agree with everything you said wholeheartedly. I would say, Shamit, he's a vet. He can shoot. But I'm going with Mook all the time. 100%. I'm definitely going. He's got New York ties, like you said. He has the acumen already he already played with Tibbs. Tibbs knows what type of player he is. He plays defense. He plays offense. He can get buckets. You know, he was pretty much baby Melo for us that 2019 season. He was doing everything. He was the leading scorer. You know what I'm saying? He was doing everything for the team at that, you know, that year. So I definitely think he can, you know, like I said, like you just said, you know, as far as the efficiency of his career in the past seasons, you know, the jury is still out, and that's why he's getting like a pretty much a prove it type of deal right now. But you know, between him and Shamit, I'll have to say, you know, he's just a shooter, a sharp shooter. Like, you know, I rather have a player like Mook because he definitely has a lot more you know, veteran presence that he'll bring to the team. You know, he has experience of being like a number one guy, and also like having other roles on playoff teams. So like he knows how to play his role. He knows, you know, but he can also be that type of player that can light it up for us one game in the playoffs. You never know. You know, he could be that type of player as well. So, you know, he has a lot of, like I just said, veteran experience, playoff experience. So I think he'll bring a lot to the team. I don't see him not being at least picked up. And as far as minutes go, I don't think, you know, I think it'll be, you know, in the event that somebody gets hurt, he'll probably get minutes. But, you know, we know Thibs. You know, Thibs is gonna run with his guys, and you know, I don't foresee him to be playing too many minutes. You know, but I definitely see him being a great veteran presence for sure. You know, so I think that's a good move for sure for us. I was definitely, you know, that was a good, you know, I was definitely glad to see that. You know, I'd rather have somebody who's been on the team. You know, that's what the Knicks do though. You know, especially this front office. They like to keep the camaraderie. They like to keep, you know, familiar faces around. Obviously, familiar faces that are good, productive players. You know, they like to keep that type of stuff going. So I think it was a good move. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. But yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on Jordan's take. Yeah, we call him Baby Mello in the 2019 season. Yeah, he was like
Baby
getting mad.
Melo,
Yeah, he was getting mad buckets to her.
he
Like it was
was.
nuts. So again, just a lightly add, like it's a good signing. Knicks fans are happy to see him back, but hopefully he gets a roster spot. I think he deserves to get this roster spot, but ideally, like Jordan and me said, I doubt he's going to see more than 10 minutes on the court. But if he can go out there, get buckets, play some defense for a little bit, and get some of these guys a small breather, that's exactly what we're looking for, because we know that maybe down the road as the season progresses. I mean, last season our team was a build with bare bones, and we were the skeleton crew. And so if we had somebody like Marcus Morris, even though he's an elite veteran, he could have probably have helped that team way more than what they had during that time in the playoffs. But again, we're not relying on Marcus Morris. I just like the guy. So moving on, we're going to talk about our predictions. So as the season's rolling up, we're going to give our predictions on the New York Knicks. We are going to predict what seed they're going to get. So let's start off with their seed. So ideally, last season, the Knicks shocked, I think, the entire NBA with getting the second seed. It was something that I didn't expect. I thought the Knicks were going to get more so the fourth, maybe fifth seed in the NBA in the East, but they happened to win 50 games and get the second seed. So my predictions for the Knicks this year in regards to what seed they're going to get, I think it entirely relies on how healthy the team is and how well they perform. So I think the Knicks are 100% capable of getting that second seed again. I think they may be even able to get the first seed, but I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I think that first seed is definitely going to be belonging to the Boston Celtics. But I think if the Knicks are healthy and are able to play efficient basketball, especially with the roster that they have, they'll definitely get the second seed. So I'll throw it to Jordan and let him give his predictions on what seed the Knicks are going to get.
I'm going number one. I can see it. I can see number one. I can definitely see us going number one, number two. I can't expect no less than top three for sure. You know what I'm saying? At this point, I don't expect nothing less, to be completely honest. But at the same time, just going into, like, obviously the East is just as strong, if not, well, definitely stronger than it was last season. You're gonna have a motivated Dame Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially going out the way they went out last year against the Pacers. You're gonna have a motivated Boston, with the snubs of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown with the Olympics. They're gonna be motivated. Kristaps Porzingis is supposed to be out, so that's a question mark for them. But then you're gonna have Philly with, like I said, we beat them, so they're gonna be motivated to beat us. And then they just added PG, so they another year of what's the name, Tyrese Maxey. You know what I'm saying? He's only getting better, so they're only on the rise as well. But it remains to see how if they can stay healthy and things like that. But I think that's the thing that's in our favor, the Knicks' favor, is, like, Mikal Bridges has a clean bill of health. He doesn't really miss games. Jalen Brunson is pretty much, pretty durable. Randall had a freak injury. You know what I'm saying? I think Randall has pretty much a decent bill of health as well. So I think overall, health-wise and just productivity-wise, I can definitely see us going number one. You know what I'm saying? I definitely can see that. I think besides those, other three teams, I think those are the teams that obviously we got to worry about. I think the Heat are going to take a step back. Jimmy Butler, another, a year older Jimmy Butler. They depending on him. Bam Adebayo is good. Tyler Hero is pretty good, but I think, like I said, I think they're going to be one of the teams that takes the slide in the East for sure, because they ain't really make too many moves. And I honestly think Jimmy Butler will be out of there sooner than later. So I think, like I said, those are the teams we really got to worry about at this point. Indy, maybe, but like we would have beat them last year if we would have had a healthy team. So we ain't really worried about them. Cleveland, we ain't worried about them. We already did pack them up a couple years ago. We definitely not worried about them. So I think like I said, between Philly, what is it, Boston and Milwaukee, those are the teams that are the most threat to us. But out of those teams, I still think we could be number one. Personally, I think so. So we'll see.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think it really, with the Knicks, it really depends on if they're healthy, right? Last year, they were able to get that number 2 spot, even though they had a big injury with Julius Randle. They were able to secure the second seed, and even though Julius Randle was going to be out for the entire season, if the Knicks are healthy, they're going to be a powerhouse in the East and the entire NBA. So I think the first seed is definitely not something that they're not going to be able to get. I wouldn't be surprised if this Knicks team is 100% healthy, that they're 100% capable of getting that first seed. However, you have to look at the Boston Celtics, and they're a really good team. They have a lot of elite players, but like Jordan said, there's going to be certain players that aren't going to be there when the moments matter. With Kristaps Porzingis, he always seems to find a way to get injured, but they're still a big powerhouse. I mean, the best team in the NBA, the team that won the championship last year, is the Boston Celtics. They're going to be the number 1 team next year. And other teams, that you got to worry about. I know Milwaukee was in kind of a rut last year. They, not necessarily a rut, but when playoff time came, they were missing their best player, and that's what caused them to lose in the first round. And so when they have Giannis back, they're going to be a big, huge a powerhouse again. So I think that's a team that can easily, create havoc for the Knicks and preventing them from getting 1, 2, or even 3. And then you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that definitely gave the Knicks a very hard a challenge in that first round series, even though the Knicks, again, were bare bones, didn't really have a lot of, didn't have all of their strength, but they just added another element to their team. Not only do they have Tyrese Maxey, who is playing out of his head, they also have Joel Embiid, who is an amazing player. They now have Paul George, so they definitely can find themselves being in the top 3. So I think the Knicks still land 2, but they could definitely fall from 1 to 4. But I think they're going to be 2. And like Jordan said, I'm not worried about Indiana, not worried about Cleveland. If the Knicks were healthy, they would have packed up Indiana easily, no problem. I do think Tyrese Halliburton is a great player, but ideally the Knicks definitely have a better team than Indiana. And now the fact
we got a greater player.
Oh yeah, and since the Knicks have added these elements to their team, they're definitely a better team than like Orlando, Cleveland, and the list goes down the line. So if the Knicks were to play like another 7th seed in the playoffs this year, I think that they're going to be able to just go up against a team that they don't really need to worry about, because you have to really look at it. The last playoff series against Philadelphia, that's a really hard first round matchup, regardless whether what team you are. Usually Philadelphia is in one of the top 3 or 4 seeds, and the Knicks had to face them at the 7th seed. Obviously, Joel Embiid was injured, which caused them to drop in the seedings. But I do think if the Sixers can stay healthy, they're going to be a powerhouse in the East. But I'm really not worried about all the other teams that are going to be on the lower end in regards if the Knicks are going to play them. But ideally, I think the Knicks are going to be definitely top 4 seed. I'm looking at them to be at number 2. So I'll throw it back to Jordan here.
The thing for me is, I think, you can't really point to, me personally, I can't really think of any team, even in the West or even the East, that you could say. I mean, Boston won last year, but I'm not calling them a dynasty. They're not Golden State level. You feel me? So I that's what I'm saying. I feel like as far as other things, it's the cards stack. Obviously availability is the best ability once we get down to the end of the season. And we see where all the teams are. If the Knicks are healthy, I definitely can see them going up against any team in the West. And I could, like I said, I definitely can see them competing with Boston. We already know how, injury riddled, Kristaps Porzingis can be, and they already talking about he gonna miss the beginning of the season anyway, with I think a leg injury or whatever. I'm not really sure, but they already gonna be missing him at the start. So that's already like a lag in behind for them. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't, like I said, I personally don't see them as being a dynasty. They won, but I don't think they're a team that's gonna win for years and years to come. Like obviously we knew Golden State was one of those teams that's like, who beating them? You know what I'm saying? From year to year, it's like not too many teams competing with them, and they were just that good. So, but I don't, like I said, I think the Knicks this is our time right now, as far as maybe not this year, but like I said, within the next 2 to 3 years, I could definitely see us potentially winning the championship. You know what I'm saying? That's not just speaking as a fan, but just speaking as a basketball. Just a basketball. I'm sorry, my fault. As a basketball, somebody that a basketball fan. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I do think that the Celtics are better than a lot of people set out. I mean, I don't think that, like Jordan said, they're going to be like a dynasty. For teams like Golden State or even the Heat when they had LeBron. I mean, they are going to be successful. But I do think that the way that they manage their roster gives them a way more flexibility to be successful over other teams. But going back on the Knicks realm, like Jordan said, we're building a foundation to where we can be successful in the years to come, right? So that's why the Knicks are making these moves so that they can continue to have players like Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, the list goes on, so that they can continue to play on the Knicks and then they can acquire better talent to, for the future years. So not only the Knicks right now have a great foundation, they might add more in the future. And I do agree with Jordan here. You know, when you look at it as a Knicks fan, not only as Knicks fans, we want them to win, but ideally this is like one of the first times as a Knicks fan that you can actually see this team going in the right direction and have the capabilities of winning the championship. I think personally, as a Knicks fan, that this team is definitely capable, and in the near future, I do think that this team can win the championship. And again, like what Jordan said, you know, if you're just looking at this as an NBA fan or a basketball fan, you look at this Knicks roster, you have a lot of talent that can definitely win you the championship. So if the Knicks were to be not only in the NBA Finals or to win the entire NBA Finals, it wouldn't be shocking because they really have a good foundation. They have great coach and they have amazing players. And so I can't wait to see what they can do for this season and for the years to come. But I really have high hopes. Hopefully they can stay healthy, and if they do stay healthy, I genuinely think that the Knicks can definitely cause havoc for the NBA. But lastly, before we end the show, we're still on predictions. And this is always a fun thing to go about. But how many wins do you think the Knicks are going to get? Plus 50, low 50? How many do you think they're going to get, Jordan?
I'm going for I think about 55.
Okay.
I'm thinking 55.
Yeah,
Solid.
I
Because
think around there.
for one, we know Thibs. He's coaching to win every game, so he's going to be coaching to win almost every game anyway. So I see us. He's not that. We know he's not a low management type of coach. He's not. He's playing his players to the bitter end. So I feel we're gonna win games. Just like we won a lot of games last year. We're gonna win at least 50 games. I would definitely say for sure. I would say I don't expect us to not. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think the Knicks are going to definitely get a 50 burger. I think it's going to be like Jordan said, around 55. I do think that with the addition of Mikal Bridges, and if they are able to continue to be healthy, they're going to definitely win more than 50 games. Let alone, I think that if they are entirely healthy, they're going to win more than 55. So the stakes are high for the Knicks. Hopefully, again, they can keep everything in line and everybody stays healthy. But ideally, like we said this whole show, it's getting to a point to where the season's rolling around. And as a Knicks fan, you're just really hoping that the season comes around because we love watching this team play. But that's going to be the show. I'll let Jordan holler at you before I close the show out. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we got a few more weeks left. I think October 6th, I believe that's the
somewhere
first.
around there
That's
when the
the
season
first.
starts.
Yeah, right. I believe that's the first preseason game, so that'll kick things off for us. And
Yeah,
that's
October 6th, first preseason.
beautiful. So yeah, that's right around the corner, and we're almost done with this month. We got one more week in this month, and we're pretty much there. So, like I said, we'll continue to bring great coverage for y'all, great content. Just looking forward to a great season. I think if everybody stays healthy and everybody does what they're supposed to do, I can't see this team not being as successful as it was last year, if not more. So, Um, obviously it's going to be a big hill to climb. Like Jonathan said, Boston is tough, but I think we have pieces that we have toughness as well. We have players that can compete, and I think I just want to see what a full Knicks team going up against Boston will look like, compared to last year, where it's like, it was we didn't have all our bullets, all our team, all our players. So we'll see how, that's what I'm very excited to see. That's to see where we stack up. And actually, the first game of the season is against Boston, October 22nd. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll definitely have a great opportunity to see what a full Knicks team looks like against a full. Well, I don't think they'll have Porzingis, but they'll have pretty much. They'll have Tatum and Brown, so a pretty full team. On Boston. So just like to see how we stack up. That'll be a great first test of the season for us, and I'm looking forward to that. So yeah.
All right, yeah. So that'll be the show again. Going to the future, I think the live stream portion is a little bit better. Obviously, we can interact with the viewers better when the show is live. So look forward to having the show be live as we continue with the show, and as the season gets closer, Jordan and I will be creating content outside of this show on our channel via the memes that Jordan will be creating, and I'll be trying my best to do post-game reactions. We're going to try to figure out a best way to go about that, but that will be until the season starts. You can catch this show on Spotify if you want to listen to it, but ultimately we're just really ready to gear up for the season to come. Knicks ROC podcast is back, and we're ready to give you the content for the entire year. So that's going to be the show. Again, if you tuned in during the live stream, we really appreciate it. And if you're watching it post live stream, make sure that you share it to all your friends, all your Knicks fans, and make sure you like it so that this spreads the word. But other than that, that'll be the show. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.